Newt Gingrich news now, and, well, sadly, this week, as he promised, Andy, Newt Gingrich finally dropped out of the campaign for the Republican nominee for US President after finally being defeated by facts, numbers, and a complete lack of interest from the Republican base. And that very nearly brings us to an end of the Republican primary season, Andy, with only Ron Paul left hanging around. And just look back at the names that have been and gone, Andy. Perry, Bachmann, Santorum, Gingrich, Pawlenty, Kaine. A Mount Rushmore of names that you'd never want carved into the side of a mountain. Newt Gingrich dropped out with a speech as short as it was gracious. By which I mean it was f***ing long and completely graceless. He spoke as if he had a medical condition whereby he could only keep living if he continually heard the sound of his own voice. like a linguistic version of the movie Speed. He was flanked by his grandchildren so they could take part in the moment when their grandfather tacitly admitted to the world that he was a colossal, crushing failure. He was supposed to endorse Mitt Romney during the speech, Andy, but that wasn't easy to do, partly because he didn't want to, and partly because of the terrible things that he'd said about Romney over the last year. So Gingrich just strapped on his black belt in verbal jiu-jitsu and went with this. I'm asked sometimes, is Mitt Romney conservative enough? And my answer is simple. Compared to Barack Obama, you know, this is not a choice between Mitt Romney and Ronald Reagan. While then going on to say, because if it was, I would vote Reagan. And I mean Reagan now. I would choose the corpse of Ronald Reagan over Mitt Romney. But, as I'm denied that choice, I will go with Romney. Because this is not a choice between Mitt Romney and a boiled egg. If it was, I would take the boiled egg. Gingrich added that Mitt Romney knew about 60,000 times more on the subject of job creation than Mr. Obama, showing the attention to detail and reason that he's known and loved for. But he wasn't going to leave, Andy. He wasn't going to leave that room or the presidential campaign without some advice for the children of the future, especially his grandchildren standing right next to him in earshot. He said, and I quote, I happen to think that math and science is a better future than methamphetamine and cocaine. Although it might be worth pointing out that math and science can actually be appropriately used in the manufacture and marketing of either of those products in what has historically been a high-reward, if high-risk business model. Just in case his grandchildren were either not embarrassed or not confused enough by what angry Grandad was shouting at the assembled press, he went on to refer to his widely mocked moon colony idea, saying, I'm not totally certain I will get to the moon colony. I am certain that my grandchildren, Maggie and Robert, will have that opportunity if they want to take it. And I'm guessing his grandchildren then muttered to themselves, oh, thanks so much for using our actual names there, Grandad. There was a chance for a second there that we weren't going to get badly bullied for the next 10 years, so thanks for clearing that little grey area up. And he closed his thought by saying, I think their generation will look back at the olden days when people didn't have holograms at home, and they will live in a very different world. Wait, holograms at home? I didn't realise that was part of his platform, Andy. Get him back in the race. If he can produce an affordable rocket book, I'm going to be in DC screaming his name as he swears into office next year.
Well, I mean, it's very hard to know what to say on such an emotional occasion as the death of Newt Gingrich's presidential ambitions, but God rest their mortal soul.